Good morning, O'Neill. We're having another wonderful day, and it is Thursday, December 24th. Some special things coming up soon. And we have a special day today where we are continuing to read Save Me a Seat. I hope you enjoyed our cooking yesterday and were able to snack on some stuff at home too. We're hanging out in my dining room today, and I hope you enjoy our reading today. We are on chapter 12. We're going to continue, hopefully, for quite a bit along. So let's get going. All right, chapter 12. Joe. Here we go. When Miss Beam calls on the new kid to come up to the board to do the first problem, he jumps out of his seat like a jack-in-the-box on a spring. His glasses slide down his nose, and all the stuff on his desk go flying, including his name card, which lands on the floor beside my desk. Ravi. Miss Beam has been calling him Ravi, but when he introduced himself, I'm pretty sure he said his name was Ravi, with an accent on the second syllable. As I reach down to pick up the card, he reaches out for it at the same time, and we bump heads. Ouch. Dylan gets down on the floor to help Ravi pick up his stuff, but I know what he's really up to. Quick as a flash, he puts one of those mechanical pencils down the front of his pants. When Ravi finally makes it to the front of the class to solve the problem, he draws a bunch of crazy-looking arrows on the board, each in different color. I think it looks cool, but Miss Beam isn't impressed. He seems pretty bummed out after that. I don't see what the difference is as long as he gets the right answer. I agree with Joe. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, Dylan sticks his front foot and trips him. That's a Dylan Samarine specialty, kicking a person when they're already down. He tries to pin it on me, but everyone with half a brain would see through that. How could I trip him from 10 feet away? My legs are long, but not that long. While Ravi goes to get his glasses and Miss Beam tries to decide whether she needs to call the school nurse, Dylan reaches back and swipes another one of Ravi's mechanical pencils. I feel bad for Ravi. I could definitely give him some pointers, like, for instance, not to leave his stuff lying around and to watch out for the winking. Dylan always winks when he's up to no good. Maybe at lunch, Ravi and I will sit at the same table again. I wouldn't mind. His clothes are flat and his lunchbox is weird, but other than that, he seems okay. Chapter 13, Ravi. After my failure to impress Miss Beam with my verdict math and the tripping episode, I can hardly wait for the morning to be over. At lunch, I will sit with Dylan Samarine and the other boys and come up with a plan for how to put Bigfoot in his place. One time at Vida Madeir, a boy named Hassan stole a pair of leather batting gloves from my sports bag. My friends and I caught up with him after school and pushed him into the corner until he cried like a baby and gave back the gloves. That doesn't sound very nice of him. Please take out your social studies textbook and open them to page 10, Miss Beam tells us. Who would like to read the first paragraph to the class? Dylan starts waving his hand in the air, but Miss Beam chooses a boy called Keith Campbell instead. Most Native Americans were forced to leave New Jersey during the 1700s, Keith reads. Descendants of New Jersey Native American people hid or he stopped before the next word. The word is assimilated, said Miss Beam. Class, please repeat after me. We all say it together. Assimilated. Can anyone tell me what the word means? Miss Beam asks. Mine is the only hand that goes up. Yes, Ravi, says Miss Beam. I start to stand up, but catch myself in time. I have been awarded another chance to impress Miss Beam, and I'm not going to give her any reason to find fault with me. So the word is, there we go, assimilate. And this is kind of the picture of that melting pot. And sometimes people say the United States is a melting pot. And what you see on here is that people are like new people to the country are going into the pot and then they're coming out just kind of like everyone else. So what it means to assimilate sometimes isn't so great because you lose some of your culture, your language, different things like that. So, but in the past, and some people still now want immigrants to assimilate to the American culture. And so that's assimilate. Let's think about and find out what Ravi thinks assimilate means. Assimilate, to consume and incorporate nutrients into the body after digestion, I say confidently. Miss Beam smiles, but she has a pity look again. I'm sorry, Ravi, she says. I'm afraid I couldn't understand you because of your accent. You're going to need to speak more slowly in class if you want to be understood. Give me a break, Miss Beam. My face burns. Is there nothing I can do right? But I refuse to give up. I swallow my pride and try again. Assimilate, I say slowly, swirling my tongue around the words to make them sound more American. To consume and incorporate nutrients into the body after digestion. Thank you, Ravi, Miss Beam says, but the pity look is still there. In this context, however, the word assimilate means to try to fit in. Don't feel bad. It was a very good guess. A guess? Is that what she thinks? My answer was correct. I am 100% correct, certain of it. I have a photographic memory. I can still see the definition from my 4th grade science notebook clearly in my mind. Miss Beam asks Keith Campbell to continue with his reading. Descendants of New Jersey Native American people hid or assimilated into white society. Very good, Keith, Miss Beam says when she has finished reading. Then she looks around the room. Who would like to read the next paragraph? How about you, Joe? Bigfoot practically falls out of his chair. No way, he blurts. Excuse me, says Miss Beam. Her eyebrows are twitching like electrified caterpillars. Miss Arun would never have allowed a student to speak to her that way. I wonder what Bigfoot's punishment will be. But just then, the door opens and a woman with white hair like a mop sticks to her head inside. I'm here for Joe, she says. I'll keep him for the rest of the afternoon, if that's all right. That'll be fine, says Miss Beam. Oh, and did you get my note about our new student? I think he can use your help. Could this mop top be Miss Frost, I wonder? I did get your message. If you want, I can take him now, says Miss Mop Top. The two of us can get acquainted. Acquainted. So that's another word. And it kind of just means like to get to know each other, to greet each other. So that is, acquainted. And if it seems like a formal assessment in an order, we can deal with the paperwork later. What is she talking about? Ravi, says Miss Beam, go with Miss Frost. And Joe, please. I look up at the clock, 11:25. What about lunch? I ask. You can eat with Joe and me, says Miss Frost. Do you buy school lunch or bring it from home? From home, I say softly. I don't want to eat lunch in the resource room with Miss Mop Top and Bigfoot. I want to go to lunchroom with my friend. Ravi, says Miss Beam, Miss Frost is here to help you. Please take your things and go with her. Hurry up now. I want to, 1, tell her I don't need help. 2, show her that she is one who doesn't know the meaning of assimilation. And 3, insult her hairy caterpillar eyebrows. But here's what I do instead. I sigh loudly, put my things in my backpack, and go get my tiffin box. Oh, let's see. Explain Joe's emotion when he is asked to read in front of the class. Oh my goodness. I told you yesterday about my anxiety about it when I was growing up. I can just imagine how Joe was feeling. Chapter 14, Joe. Talk about perfect timing. Oh, I could kiss Miss Frost. Well, not really, but I'm happy to see her. I'll keep Joe for the rest of the day, she says. Fine by me. Miss Beam asks Miss Frost to bring Ravi along too. He seems kind of mad about it. I was mad too when I first started going to see Miss Frost. I didn't like the way kids looked at me when she came to get me out of class. Now I'm used to it. I like Miss Frost, and I like being in the resource room, partly because it's quiet in there, and partly because of M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, come in green, yellow, brown, orange, and blue, and they all taste exactly the same. I walk down the hall next to Miss Frost. Ravi walks a few feet behind us and doesn't say a word. Here we are, Ravi, says Miss Frost when we get to her room. Miss Frost's voice sounds like a cartoon bird, chirpy and high. Her hair reminds me of those long strips of cloth they drag over your car when you go to a car wash. She holds the door open for us, but Ravi just stands there. Is something wrong, Ravi? Miss Frost asks. Ravi pushes up his glasses and rubs his nose. Then he puts his shoulders back and stands up straight. My name is not Ravi, he says. It's pronounced Ravi. I'm not going to bother to tell you how to pronounce my surname because you'll never be able to say it right. Miss Frost looks surprised. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced your name, she says. I certainly didn't mean to offend you. I don't belong here, he says, pushing his glasses up again. I speak perfect English. I was at the top of my class in India. My IQ is 135. I don't need special help, not like him. And he points his finger at me. I've been coming to Miss Frost's room since kindergarten. She was the one who figured out I have APD. Remember, that was auditory processing disorder. My mom cried when she heard. My dad just got mad. He thinks APD is made up. He says doctors do that all the time to make money. Have a seat, Joe. I'll be right with you, Miss Frost tells me now. I sit down, dig a blue peanut butter M&M out of the big bowl and the middle of the table and start sucking on it. Ravi, Ravi, I say to myself a few times until it starts to feel natural. I bet I could learn how to say his last name too if I wanted to, but why should I bother? I have more important things to think about, like the fact that my dad called to say he's cutting his trip short and coming home early. I have a feeling it's because my mom told him about what happened in the cafeteria yesterday. Miss Frost takes Ravi over to the other side of the room, to the listening lab. He sits down and puts on a pair of headphones, but his legs are jiggling around under the table, and I can tell he's still mad. For a minute, I thought maybe we could be friends, but now I know that's never going to happen. Whatever. Miss Frost gets Ravi set up in the listening lab. She comes over and sits down beside me. Are you okay, Joe? She asks. I shrug and dig another blue peanut M&M out of the bowl. Blues are my favorite. Ravi was upset, she says. He's a long way from home and still adjusting. I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt your feelings. He didn't, I tell her. Everybody thinks I'm dumb. I'm used to it. Miss Frost looks sad. Did you know your mom stopped by to see me on her way to work this morning, Joe? She asks. I shake my head. Why can't my mother keep her nose out of my business? Can we talk about something else, please? I say. Like what? Asks Miss Frost. I try to think of something that has nothing to do with my mom or her new job. Did you know that if you suck on a peanut M&M long enough and you're careful not to bite down, you can actually feel each of the layers dissolving in your mouth? Miss Frost smiles. Go on, she tells me. Most people think that there are only 3 layers in a peanut M&M, but that's not true. There are 4. The first one is the hard colored part on the outside. Next, there is thin white layer with the part most people don't think about. Then comes the chocolate, and when that's gone, if you're done it right, you end up with a nice smooth peanut sitting at the end of your tongue. Miss Frost is still smiling. That is very interesting observation, Joe, she says. It's also a sequence. Sequences are something Miss Frost and I have worked on a lot together. She says if I can think about things in order, first, next, then, and finally, it will help my brain stay organized. Pick your distractors, Miss Frost tells me. I get up and go over to the shelf filled with things like kitchen timers, wind-up toys, and music boxes. I choose an old Mickey Mouse alarm clock and a battery-operated snow globe with a Santa Claus wearing a Hawaiian shirt inside. As I carry them back to the table, I catch a whiff of something spicy. It must be Robbie's lunch. Ready, Miss Frost asks. The alarm clock is ticking loudly. I set the snow globe on the table beside it and turn it on. A blizzard of glittering white snowflakes swirls around the plastic Santa Claus. Ready, I say. She hands me a copy of Sports Illustrated. That's a magazine. First, find a page with no pictures on it. Next, circle all the words that begin with the letter T, she tells me. Then, copy the T words out on a piece of paper, and finally, fold the paper in half and bring it to me. Got it? Tick, 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 tick. I'm telling my brain to ignore the sound of the clock and the swirling flakes in the snow globe and focus on what Miss Frost just said. Find a page with no pictures. Circle the words that begin with T, I say, repeating the instructions. Then what? She asks. The Santa in the snow globe is holding a sign saying, Hollywood, here I come. That gets me thinking about Evan and Ethan. I wonder how they're doing in California. That gets me thinking about the part in Bud Not Buddy, where Bud tries to sneak into the train with his best friend. Bugs only ends up getting left behind with some girl named Deza who wants to kiss him. I don't know what I'd do if some girl tried to kiss me. Probably bite her. Don't do that. Then what? Miss Frost asks again. Oh, crud. I totally lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. Ugh. Focus, Joe, Miss Frost tells me. Tick, tick, tick. I close my eyes and I try hard to remember the rest of the instructions she gave me a minute ago. All right. Copy all the T words out and write them on a piece of paper. Fold it in half and give it to you. Way to go, Joe, Miss Frost says, putting her hand up to give me a high five. Miss Frost doesn't know that high fives are corny. I look over at Ravi to see if he's watching, but luckily he's busy looking at the dictionary. He asks again if he can go back to class, and this time Miss Frost goes over to talk to him. I can't hear what they're saying, but I guess she gives in and decides to let him go because he shoves his stuff in his backpack real fast and heads straight for the door. Fine by me. Miss Frost offers Ravi an M&M from the candy bowl, and even though there are plenty of other colors, wouldn't you know it, he reaches in and takes a blue one. What really ticks me off is that it's a double. Two M&Ms stuck together. Those are rare. He doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't eat the M&M either, just puts it in his pocket and heads for the door. Something's different about him. He's not mad anymore. He seems more sad. Now that I care how he feels. I'm glad he's leaving. Joe, says Miss Frost, I'll be back in a minute. Then we can get lunch. As soon as she's gone, I put down my pencil and dump the whole bag of M&Ms out on the table. I go through them one by one looking for doubles, but there aren't any more. Doubles are rare, especially blue ones. I'm kicking myself. How could I have missed it? Oh, that was a lot. Oh my goodness. Now, I'm thinking about how you might feel if you've ever needed help in school. I'm sure all of us had needed help for one thing or another. Sometimes, we ask for it, and sometimes our teachers kind of know when we need it. But how does that make you feel? And have you ever gotten help and you thought you didn't need it? I don't know. Let's keep finding out how Ravi and Joe feel. Chapter 15, Ravi. The eyes are windows to the world, Amma always says. When I was little, she would look into my eyes and tell me they were bright and sparkling like my mind. That was before Dr. Batra discovered that I could hardly see. In kindergarten, I had a serious copying problem. I could never copy anything correctly from the board. While reading a book, I had to stick my face so close to the page that my teacher, Miss Venkat, suspected that I had some serious reading issues. When she called my mother in to tell her to get me assessed, Amma had cried. She couldn't stand that they were questioning my intelligence. It was Dr. Batra who figured out that the problem was my eyesight. Now I wear glasses. The power of lenses is 13, and I can see the world clearly. Miss Frost gives me a book called Fun with Phonics and tells me to read along with the recording of the first story. There is a picture of letters dressed up in funny clothes on the cover. This is ridiculous. Does she think I'm a baby? I pretend to be listening to the story, but instead I turn down the volume and shift the headphones away from my ears so that I can hear what Miss Frost and Bigfoot are saying. He's talking to her about candy. I hear footsteps and people laughing out in the corridor. I recognize Dylan's voice. Last one in gets a wedgie, he shouts. Why must I be stuck in here listening to baby stories when I could be racing off to eat lunch with my new friend, Dylan Samarine? I pull off the headphones and stand up. I've listened to this story, ma'am. Please, can I go now? I ask, but Miss Frost tells me to sit down and eat my lunch. Will I be trapped here forever, like Bud Caldwell was trapped in the shed with the angry bees? I open my tiffin box and slowly unfold my napkin. How sad Amma would be if she could see me now. No wonder Bigfoot made such a fuss when Miss Beam called on him earlier to read aloud. He probably doesn't even know how to read a word. I notice the fat red book sitting on the shelf nearby and realize what to do. I finish my vegetable biryani in a few quick bites. Miss Frost is still busy with Bigfoot, so she doesn't notice me getting up and pull the heavy dictionary down from the shelf. I lay on the table, open it up to the section marked A. Then I run my finger down the page. Eschew, assess. Yes, there it is. Assimilate. I narrow my eyes and slowly read out the words. To take in, digest, incorporate. Ha! I knew it. I knew it. I whisper, smiling to myself and shaking my head from side to side. I knew Miss Beam I will show her this page and she will have no choice to admit defeat. I'll announce her mistake in front of the whole class, pump my fist, and take a bow. How sweet my victory will taste. In the meantime, I eavesdrop and find out Bigfoot is talking on and on about candy. He never says a word in class, but here he can't stop talking. About chocolate and peanuts. Will it never end? I look at the dictionary one last time, just to doubly sure, running my finger along under the words, this time very slowly. I want to make sure I have not missed anything. Take in, digest, incorporate. I bend my head closer. There's something else. To integrate, to fit in. My finger freezes. Can my eyes be fooling me? No. Thanks to Miss Batra, I can see perfectly well. I read it again. To integrate, to fit in. I close the dictionary and quickly pull my social studies book out of my backpack. Turning to chapter 1, in this context, Miss Beam had said, I read the passage and my heart feels heavy. Consuming and incorporating nutrients has nothing to do with Native Americans in New Jersey in the 1700s. Just a minute ago, I had wanted to 1, announce my victory, 2, pump my fist, and 3, take a bow. But instead, this is how I feel. 1, embarrassed, 2, ashamed, and 3, defeated. Miss Frost comes and sits down next to me. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, she says. I know that you're eager to get back to class, but I thought it might be a good idea for us to have a little chat. What is there to talk about? The taste of victory is gone. All I want is to dig a deep hole and hide my head in it forever. I'm here to help you with any way I can, says Miss Frost. We have lots of ESL materials here in the resource room. ESL, I say? English as a second language, she explains. Miss Beam mentioned that she and some of the children are having difficulty understanding you because of your accent. I hang my head. English is not my second language. It is my first. My English is much better than my Tamil. Mop Top doesn't even know me, and now she is criticizing the way I speak. I can only imagine how difficult this must be for you, she tells me. A new school in a new country. Maybe it would help to speak with Mr. Garfinkel, our guidance counselor. He's very easy to talk to. Oh, I feel like I'm suffocating. Now I'm in need of some kind of counseling too. Please, I whisper, can I just go back to my classroom? Of course, she says, and pats my head. Miss Beam should be back in her classroom by now. I'm sure she won't mind if you sit quietly and read until the others come back from lunch. I nod my head gratefully that my torture is finally coming to an end. Then I quickly stuff my tiffin box and social studies book back in my backpack before Miss Frost can change her mind about letting me go. Bigfoot is looking at a magazine and doesn't look up as I walk past. Would you like an M&M for the road? Miss Frost asks me, holding out a big bowl full of colored candies. Amma doesn't let me eat sweets, but I don't want to be rude. So I take a candy, a blue one, and put it in my pocket as I prepare myself for the long walk back. Miss Frost and I walk down the corridor together. When we reach room 506, she turns to me. How about we meet again next week? She says, once you've had a bit more time to settle in. I reach to open the door, but Miss Frost puts her hand on my shoulder. Before you go, can I tell you something? I think you assume something about Joe, and it isn't true. You and he could easily be friends. I shake my head no. Why should I be his friend after what he did to me? This morning in class, he tripped me on purpose with his foot and nearly broke my glasses, I say. That doesn't sound like the Joe I know, she says. Dylan saw him do it, I tell her. He told me. Miss Frost bites her lip, then says, I wasn't there, but if he tripped you, he owes you an apology. And you owe him an apology as well for implying that he might not be as smart as you are. Just because Joe needs help doesn't mean he isn't bright. You shouldn't assume things about a person before you know who they really are. People are making assumptions about me too, I point out. They think I can't speak English or do math, but that is not true. Miss Frost nods her head. You see, she says, assumptions are often wrong. She tells me to remember that. And there's our last word for the day, assumptions. It's when we think something about someone or something, and it's most likely not true. Assumptions. Have you ever made assumptions about another kid, a teacher, or somebody in your neighborhood? And then you found out that that assumption was not true? I'm sure you have. I know I have. But we move on and we apologize and we keep learning. All right. Tomorrow is a special day, but we are still going to be reading, and I hope you join me. We're going to start on chapter 16, which will be a great chapter in our Save Me the Seat book. All right, and I hope you have a fabulous day.